Hey everyone, welcome back to The Rustic Wife. I'm Alana. Today I am back in the kitchen and I am going to be processing some citrus fruit that I got on sale, of course, at the grocery store. I picked up some lemons and clementines from one store and some tangelos from another store, as you could see in the video before. These came from my local Foodland grocery store in Cannington, Ontario. And they're right across the road from where I work, so it's really handy and dangerous at the same time because I'm always I'm always in there. And the people are awesome. Rod and Michelle run a great store. They bring in local products from surrounding areas to sell, and their shelves are always stocked full. So when I saw these, I was going to say oranges, but tangelos on sale for 50% off, of course I had to snap those up. So we have eaten probably half of these. They've been so good. I did get 12 pounds and they're on 50% off. I think I paid $10 for them because tangelos are a little bit more expensive than oranges, but they've been fabulous. So, and then of course I got some lemons and clementines from another store, and they were on discounted as well. I can't remember how much I paid for them all in total, but anyway, so now I've got a lot of citrus that I need to do something with, and I'm going to keep some of these tangelos for fresh eating still because they were really good, and we will be processing these today. So I'm going to turn you around and show you what I'm going to do with these. So I'm going to go ahead and wash all of these before we get started. So I have them all washed here. I've got them sorted. And I'm actually going to take some of the zest from all of them, and I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to infuse some in vinegar for citrus-based salad dressings and cleaning products. I'm also going to infuse some in olive oil, and I use that for my homemade furniture polish, like wood polish. And I'm also going to infuse some in sugar, and I'm going to use that for baking. That would be good sprinkled on muffins or other baked goods, and even sprinkled on toast. Orange sugar sprinkled on warm toast will be great, will be really good. And I'm also going to make orange extract. So I bought a bottle of vodka, and I'm going to take the some of the peel off and infuse that in vodka, and I'll have my own orange extract. So I'm going to save this many for fresh eating because they're just too good. So this is what we're going to be working with, and let's see how much we can make out of this. So in order to juice these, I don't have an electric juicer. I use my vintage citrus juicer here, the hand one. And I love it. And it doesn't matter how long it takes me because I love this. So here for the infusions, I have white vinegar, some olive oil. I also have potato vodka for the extract. I don't think it matters if it's potato or grain vodka for the extract. So I just got this one because the girl at the liquor store said it was really smooth, so I went with that one. I have granulated sugar in the background there, and I also have my jars for the infusions and the juice, rind, and I also have some ice cube trays. They're really good because you can portion out how much juice is in there, and you can also use them in drinks too. I'm going to start with the lemons, and I'm going to zest these for to keep in the freezer for baking. It's just really handy that I can just grab a tablespoon of lemon zest when I want to make muffins or something. So for this, I'm just going to use the fine grate panel on my box grater and just hope that I don't knuckle myself. And I just want to get, I don't really want to get much of that white in there because that's the bitter part. So I just try to get just the peel, not the pith. All right, I've got all of my lemon zested here, and I'm just going to put it in a jar so I can store that in the freezer. Now I don't freeze this out flat and then put it in a jar. I actually just put it straight in the jar, and then when I want a tablespoon for some lemon loaf or something, or muffins, I just kind of stir it up and it all breaks up nicely. So there we have some lemon zest for baking. You can see it. Now I'm going to juice these lemons. There's a lot of seeds in this one, so I'll just make sure I strain them out. And I'm going to keep that to put in the vinegar. So I'm just going to strain this to get all those seeds out. Got all the lemons done, they're all juiced, and before I strain this, I'm going to pour the other juice that I strained into my ice cube tray. This ice cube tray was my husband's grandma's, and it comes out. It's really cool. So if you've never seen one of these before, it's all metal, and then when you want to release the ice cubes, you just open that lever and all of the cubes get separated, and yeah, it's really cool. I'm just going to pour this bit of lemon juice that I have strained into the ice cube trays, or tray, and then we'll do this one. All right, we'll put this in the freezer then. And these are great for drinks and just little portions of lemon juice that you can use for baking. So they're really handy. I'm just going to separate that membrane from the peel. So I'm left with this, and this is what I'm going to infuse into vinegar. I'll just put this stuff in the compost. But you can see this is the pith, the inner side, the white spongy stuff is the pith, and it's mostly bitter. So that's why when you're using zest for baking, you just try to get the outer colored part, because that doesn't have a lot of the bitterness. Just gonna pack my jar with these. So I'm just gonna put the vinegar in here. Actually, I'm gonna put it in there again. The last time I did it, I wasn't recording. So all I'm gonna do is just pour the vinegar into the rinds. And this is the vinegar that I had poured in when I wasn't recording. Just wipe off the top of the rim. And then I add a piece of parchment paper over the top, because the vinegar reacts with the metal and it will cause it to rust. So I just put some parchment paper and then the lid over top. There we go. And just store that in a cool, dark place, like maybe your cupboard, for a few weeks, and then you can just pull that out, strain them, and it's great for salad dressings with a citrus flavor, or cleaning products, homemade cleaning products. Next, I'm going to make my orange extract and infuse it in the vodka. But what I need to do is I'm going to use a vegetable peeler, and I'm going to peel off just the outer peel. I don't want much of that white pith in there, because as I mentioned before, that's kind of bitter. So I just want the orange essence into my flavoring. So I'll get started with this. If you have a good sharp vegetable peeler, it'll take off most of what you need there and leave some of the white, but it just depends on the peel, or excuse me, on the orange. The last one I did had a little bit of the pith on there, but that's okay. I ended up doing 3 oranges. So that gave me about, I'd say about a half a cup of peels. So I'll just get those into a jar here. So in here I have the peel of 3 oranges and about 500 milliliters of vodka, and then we're going to put parchment paper over top again, just in case the alcohol causes the metal lid to rust. There we go. Got some orange extract, and we'll leave that to sit for about 6 weeks, and I'll maybe turn it upside down every once in a while, maybe once a week, and then we'll have some nice orange extract for baking. The rind's already off these 3, excuse me, and I have 3 more tangelos here. So what I'm gonna do is zest these to keep the zest in the freezer for baking, and then I'll go ahead and I'll juice all 6 of these tangelos and see how much I get. I'm gonna use some of it for a cranberry orange loaf, and the rest can go in the freezer. I got this much orange zest, and that will go in the freezer too. So now I'm going to juice these oranges and use it for the cake when I get to it. So that's the juice I got from those 6 tangelos. And I'm gonna probably split them up into smaller jars for the freezer for baking, but I'm gonna see what I need right now for the cranberry orange loaf that I'll be making in a little bit. And the outer rinds, I'm actually not gonna put these ones in vinegar, the ones that I used from the juice, because as we've been eating them fresh each morning, I have been infusing the whole peel in vinegar. So I've got quite a bit, and I have some from before. Whenever we eat grapefruit, I put them in vinegar too. So you can do it with limes, lemons, tangerines, clementines, oranges, grapefruit, whatever. They're all great for citrus vinegar. I have 3 oranges left, and I'm going to take the peel off and dry them in the oven so I can infuse those into my olive oil, and a little bit for sugar too, for orange infused sugar. All right, I've got my orange peels here that I'm just going to dry out, and they'll go in the oven at 200 degrees for just maybe about 20 minutes. I'll just check them in between. Just want to get the moisture out of them to go into the sugar and also into the olive oil. There's so many things you can do with orange peels. You can grind them up into powder, you can dry them for tea, everything. Lots of things. Maybe not everything, but lots of things. So I'll put these in the oven. So I've just been working on the clementines, and I juiced half of them, and I'm going to cut the other half up in slices. I'm going to put them in the freezer, and they're really good frozen to put in glasses of water or your drinks or something like that to add flavor. And instead of watering it down with an ice cube, you can just use these. So this knife is useless. Get a better serrated one because these are small. So I'm going to take the membrane out of these little clementine peels, and then I'll put these into vinegar too. I just put some parchment on just a pan that can go in the freezer so that these can freeze solid, and then I will store them in either a glass jar or a Ziploc bag. Here are the orange peels out of the oven, and they're quite dry. I put them in for about 30 minutes at 200 degrees. So while those cool, I'm going to make the cranberry orange loaf. You can grease and flour a loaf pan, but I'm just going to use my bundt pan, and it is non-stick, so I'm just going to use that. So I have 1.5 cups of flour here. I have a half a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt. You can just use any kind of salt. And I also have 1 teaspoon of baking powder in with the flour. So I'm just gonna mix up the wet ingredients here. Now for the wet ingredients, I have 1 whole egg and 1 egg white. You can use 2 eggs if you want. I just don't like yolk, so I try to avoid it as much as I can. And then I have 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, and mix that together. I've got 1/2 cup of oil. I used grapeseed oil. I don't have any other kind, so I just use grapeseed oil. And I need 1/4 cup of, I'm using vanilla yogurt. You can use buttermilk if you want, or you can use sour cream. I'm just gonna do a heaping, I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it. I have 1/4 cup of our fresh squeezed orange juice. Mix that in. And we'll use about 1 tablespoon of the orange zest that we just made. And then I'm going to fold in the dry ingredients here. Or stir it in. Fold, stir, whatever you want to do. You don't want to overmix it, that's one thing. Make it tough. Start with a cup. These are frozen cranberries, so we'll start with about 1 cup of these. Now this probably won't turn out to be a huge bundt cake, but anytime I make a loaf in my oven, for some reason the middle doesn't bake that well. Kind of collapses, so that's why I am doing it in my bundt pan. So I'm going to put that in the oven at 350 for probably about 45 to 50 minutes, maybe a little bit less. I'll check it at about 40 minutes. I have about 1/3 cup of these dried orange peels in the blender, and I'm just going to blend them up so I can mix them in with some sugar. So they've ground up fairly nicely, and now I'm just going to add 1/4 cup of sugar. I just wanted to add 1/4 cup of sugar in there just so that I could grind the rest of the orange peels up too. And now I'm going to add the rest of it, and I'm just going to pulse it because I don't want it ground really fine. So in total, I'm going to do 2 cups of sugar. There. You can see all those nice little bits of orange peel, so that will be just beautiful sprinkled on top of toast or muffins, or you can use it, it'd be really nice in shortbread. So this can just, I'll put it into a jar, and this can just stay on the counter or in the cupboard. I have my orange peel here. I'm just going to fill this bottle with olive oil. I'll have lots of orange oil for my homemade wood polish. Just like that. There's my cranberry orange cake. So let that sit for a minute, and we will make the glaze for it. Right, for the glaze, I'm just gonna do, it's probably about 1 cup of icing sugar. And then I will use some of our clementine juice here. Maybe we'll do a couple tablespoons maybe. That's nice. I'd say there was about maybe 1.5 tablespoons of juice, because this spoon isn't quite a tablespoon. So let's say there's about 1.5 tablespoons of juice and about 1 cup of icing sugar. My cranberry orange cake, which looks more like a pancake, it's very small. So like I said, put it in a loaf pan. If your oven treats you well, mine does not. It doesn't bake the inside of a loaf cake or like a banana bread. It always makes the middle fall. I don't know why, but anyway, it's short, but it's very good because this is my second piece that I've eaten in 2 minutes. So I got a lot of ingredients to make cleaning supplies, and for baking, and for drinks, and fresh eating, all sorts of stuff. So that's it, we're done processing all of our citrus, and we got quite a bit of all that out of all of those oranges and lemons and clementines that I got on sale. Does anyone remember getting an orange cut in 4 in their lunch at school, and then eating it, and then stuffing the peel back in your mouth, and getting up in everybody's face in the playground with it in your mouth? Does anybody remember that? Well, did anybody do that, or is it just me? Because I remember doing it a lot, and it was always fun to get oranges in your lunch. Anyway, I hope this video today has helped you come up with some ideas on what to do with an overabundance of citrus, or if you happen to find some on sale. And if it did, please leave your ideas on what to do with citrus in the comments below, because there's so many things you can do. And I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'm glad you came along with me, and I'll see you again next time.